you're trying to lose weight but you can't stick to your calorie deficit, here is a few things to consider as to why you can't stick to it. Number one, you're not including your favorite foods. Constantly cutting out your favorite foods is only going to lead to intense cravings and also just the feeling that you're missing out. And the reality is, once you finally treat yourself to these more indulgent and snacky foods, you're going to think, why the hell will I go back on that bloody diet? It's terrible. I want to be able to eat these foods, you know? And you're ultimately just going to give into your cravings. You're going to binge eat and you're going to give up as a whole. A simple fix that we use on our program to help our clients get results, like you can see on the screen, is our 20-cent shop approach, which basically means that you're using 20% of your daily calorie goal on these more sort of snacky and indulgent foods. So for example, if your calorie goal is 2,000, you can use about 400 calories, which is 20% of 2,000 on these more snacky and indulgent foods. Then the other 80% goes towards more, foods that support our nutritional goals. Reason number two, you are avoiding social events. Look, we're already busy in our lives. You know, most of us work all week. We've got other commitments. We might be doing our training as well. The last thing that we want to be doing is having to cut out these social events where we get some valuable time with loved ones like friends, family, and all that. That's the last thing we want to do, is cut this out and cut out the enjoyment of these events. And I know that you can enjoy social events without going out and having a meal out, but sometimes it's just having that complete package of, having a full meal, going and doing a fun activity with a loved one. It's just, sometimes you need that whole package, right? And having to cut that out, it's just going to lead to fear of missing out and also intense cravings, because you're missing those foods that you can get out and enjoy at a restaurant or some takeaway, etc. You shouldn't need to cut out social events for your fat loss goals anyway. Reason number three, you're stuck in the all or nothing mindset. This is probably the most toxic mindset that people are going to have when they're, going for fat loss goals or any goals in general, is thinking that they have to be perfect all the time. There is always going to be obstacles in the way. You're never going to have a smooth run of something. It's impossible to expect. Think of it like starting a new job. You're not just going to walk straight into the new office that you're working in and be amazing at everything. You're going to have to learn their systems. You're going to have to build relationships with people. And there's just going to be stuff that goes wrong each week or, every few days or so that you're going to have to fix. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be free-flowing. There's going to be things that you have to deal with. Obviously, the more that you deal with those things, the better that you get at dealing with them, and the less impactful they sort of become as you get this experience. But in saying that, slip-ups are going to happen because of these things that are getting in our way. And with fat loss, it's many things. You might go out to a social event. You might even plan to stay on track at this social event and do all the prep that you need to be doing. But it just happens, you slip up, and having this all or nothing mindset and thinking, stuff it, I've already ruined the whole week. I might as well just, wait out till Monday. It might be a Friday night and you might just be like, I've already ruined it. I had too many drinks, I've gone over my calories. But the reality is, even if you've gone a few hundred over your calories, most people are usually in a calorie deficit that's about, it's gonna help them lose about half a kilo to a kilo a week. So the reality is, if you go a few hundred over, you're probably still in a calorie deficit, or at least a maintenance for that day. You're still losing weight for that day. And even if you go massively over, even if you blow your calories by 2,000, what good is it in you continuing that cycle for the days to come? Wouldn't it just be better just to get back on track for the next day, just accept that it happened, not feel guilty about it, and just move on, get back on track? Isn't that just going to be better, rather than sending yourself and digging yourself an even deeper sort of hole in the ground? Reason number four, you're not eating enough during the day. People will come to me and say, I'm really not eating that much, but I still can't lose weight. And the reason is, they're not going to be in a calorie deficit. They might not be actually eating that much food. They might be right about that, but they might be consuming really calorie-dense foods. For example, I remember a lady, she said that she only in the morning gets some banana bread from Macca's, and she said a small, frappuccino or something like that. When I actually searched up these entries for her, this was her breakfast. She wouldn't eat throughout the day. She might have had a protein bar throughout the day, but she wouldn't eat till dinner after that. But I searched this up for her. The banana bread is 650 calories itself, and the frappuccino, I can't remember exactly what it was that she was getting, was 400 calories or 350 calories. So that in itself, the breakfast that felt like nothing in itself was over 1,000 calories easily, and it took up more than half of her calories for the day. Then she had a protein bar, which was another 200 calories, and then she'd get home starving and have a massive dinner, and she still felt like she had nothing for the day, but realistically she was not in a calorie deficit and therefore could not lose weight. And this is going to lead us into my next point, which is you're not prioritizing filling foods that have protein and fiber in them. Look, protein and fiber are the most satiating nutrients, which means that they're the most filling nutrients. So if you eat food high in protein and fiber, you're going to feel more satisfied and fuller for longer. I've had so many clients that within the first few weeks of actually having a protein goal and actually sticking to it, they've been like, wow, I'm so full that it's even hard just to hit my calorie deficit goal. And they've been shocked because they're like, I actually feel really full while eating a calorie deficit for the first time ever. I used to, be a bit hungry, and like as their appetite adapts, they will still be getting a bit hungry, but they used to be starving trying to stick to a calorie deficit. But as soon as they started prioritizing fiber and protein, it's like all the problems went away. If you guys are after a guideline of how many grams of protein or fiber you should be after, for fiber it's about 25 to 35 grams daily, 25 to 30 for female and 30 to 35 for male, but 25 to 35. For protein, you should ideally be looking at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So for example, if you weigh 80 kilos, you would be wanting to eat 120 grams of protein daily. Essentially, whatever your body weight is, just times that by 1.5 and you've got your protein goal. Of course, you're not going to be able to hit that straight away, but just start small. Start with, aiming for 1 gram protein per kilo of body weight and work your way up. But that's a very minimum that you should be working towards, is the 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Our next point is you're jumping from plan to plan. Too many people are doing the right stuff, but they just don't give it enough time because they are trying to rush success. It's like that old saying, Rome wasn't built overnight. It is going to take you some time, and it's going to require some consistency and some patience. Too many people are looking for a quick fix, which is fair enough. Look, I know people want to receive results straight away, but just like anything in life, great things don't happen overnight. It does take some time to build, and you're just going to have to be patient with it. So instead of, sticking in a calorie deficit for 2 weeks and then, being like, oh, this isn't working, or it's not going at the rate that I want it to, and then ultimately deciding, all right, well, now I'm going to try keto. Just stick to it. As long as you are confident in your plan, then that's all that matters. You're going to get results if you stick to it. Obviously, if you're not confident in your plan and you're not confident it's going to get you results, then that's another issue that you need to fix. But we can guarantee that any client that comes on to our program is going to have the right plan in place. So all they need to do is just give us their best efforts and be consistent with the plan, and they will see results. And leading on to our last point is you've got decision fatigue. This is a big one that I have to coach through with my clients in their first few weeks. They are spending too much time looking at different recipes and seeing what amazing food and all the stuff that they can be eating. But the reality is they are too busy to be worrying about having to try a different recipe every day. The reality is you're going to have to build habits and staple meals, obviously meals that you can enjoy. Don't get me wrong, find meals that you enjoy, but you don't need to find 100 of them. Just find, for example, just find 2 options for each meal of the day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and just rotate between them. Obviously, every few weeks, change up the rotation. But your best friend is just going to be having structure and habit. It's going to make it so simple, especially during the week when you're working. Feel free to go for it on the weekend. On the weekend, you've got more time. Usually, most of the time, people are working on the weekend, or not, at least not all weekends. So you have a bit more time. You might decide to try a recipe, and that might even be like a bit of a date night or a hangout session with one of your friends. But yeah, ultimately, stop trying to make so many decisions about what you're going to be eating. Just stick to the staple meals that are going to help you hit your nutritional goals. It's going to save you a lot of headaches and a lot of decisions made when you're in the midst of a busy day and you're hungry. Because ultimately, you're eventually going to have that one day where you are so hungry, you're so tired, and the last thing you feel like doing is having to do the math of what meal is going to fit into your calorie and protein goals for the day. And before I end this video, I have released a new fast food fat loss toolkit guide. It has all the most popular Australian takeaway joints and the best high protein and low calorie options that you can get from them. So if you're someone that struggles with staying on track while having meals out, this is perfect for you. Best thing about it, it's absolutely free. So if you want a free copy, head over to my Instagram at landonquinn.coaching and just DM me the word fast food and I'll send it straight on over to you. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and also subscribe.